Built for More podcast, Denny Thompson, Pastor Joby Martin, Super Bowl champion.
That's right.
Come on.
Josh Wells. What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, good, man. Good to be here.
You should have brought your ring and your trophy.
Yeah, I keep that in the safe away from the kids. They
make the rings so obnoxious now. You can't wear that.
No, you can take the top off of it.
Yeah.
And then my kids are like, can you take the top off? Let me see it. And I'm like,
It's got like
they
the
actually
stadium
dropped
in there?
it one time. Yeah, I got the stadium, the diamond where we ran out, the tunnel, scores of all the games. I mean, it's a cool thing. A lot of thought went into it, but
I was in
it is.
L.A. in December and met the guy that designs like most of the rings. I went in his showroom and it's just like, bro, like, where are you going to wear this? This thing's the size of my head.
I'd preach in it if I wore one.
Would you?
Oh, man. You know it.
Ride the
That's why the Lord-
motorcycle.
Yeah,
Ride the
I would.
motorcycle with it.
I'd hook it to the front of my
Keep it-
bike.
hey,
Does
no
the
doubt.
team chaplain get like a, does they get a ring?
Yeah, I think if you help the team get there, I mean, support staff and
Real diamonds and all?
yeah, I think I don't know. They'll have to check theirs. Get
I feel
theirs
like you should
appraised and checked out.
volunteer
We'll
at
see.
Georgia just to get a ring.
Oh, I would love to. I would totally do that.
Yeah. I don't know why you haven't done that.
I know.
If you're listening,
Guest
Georgia.
speaker.
Yeah, go dogs. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that's it.
My Bible's written in red and black.
I love
What else you need?
No, man, a lot to talk about, a lot of good stuff to talk about. Obviously, you guys know each other really, really well. And if it's good with y'all, I just kind of want to start on your journey, and then we can kind of go from there, because I was looking at his Wikipedia, and I was telling Josh before you got here, Joby, that like 80% of his Wikipedia involves the words injured reserve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because you were an undrafted free agent, correct?
Yes,
Out
sir.
of what college?
James Madison.
James Madison. So undrafted. So a lot of people listening may not understand, like, you're a bad sneeze away from being cut when you're undrafted.
100%. Yeah.
And then you actually made the 53, like, first year, correct?
I did.
No practice squad.
No practice squad. Right to active roster.
That's rare.
Yeah.
And then talk about your injury history from there, because I was looking at it and it's like your story seems like one that's full of, you get an opportunity and then there's an injury. You get another opportunity and there's an injury. Can you kind of walk us through that a little bit? Like how many you had? Because it was actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I'm like you said, I'm undrafted. Make the 53-man my first year. And that whole year, great. I played in some games. All
Here
these
in
things.
Jacksonville, by the way.
Here in Jacksonville,
sorry.
yeah.
Yep.
First 5 years here in Jacksonville. The first year is awesome. I mean, I'm living the life.
Mm-hmm.
No relationship with the Lord at all. Made
Just
the team, making good money.
Yep.
I had some smart people around me tell me what to do financially. I was feeling good. And then my second year is when the injury started. Second year, did my left thumb. Third year, did my right thumb. Kind of banged up every now and then from there on out. But then I did my calf, my quad, my knee, and my groin, kind of my adductor off my pelvis late in my career. But like you said, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. Undrafted's not getting the benefit of the doubt. But funny enough, preseason week 2, my second year is when I surrendered my life to the Lord in chapel the night before that game. Preseason game 2 the next day, first injury, first stint on IR. And that
That's
kinda
interesting.
started
That's super interesting. Yeah.
And if we got hardcore Jag fans, they'll love this. The guy that basically led Josh to Christ is Tyler Shatley.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he undrafted also?
He was
out of
undrafted.
Clemson?
Out of Clemson, still my best friend in the world. We live 2-3 houses down from each other. Kids grow up together. But we are roommates together coming out. We're both undrafted. We both make the active roster. And we're in OTAs, have the weekend off. And he said, on Sundays, I go to church, and then I go to Maple Street. You want to go? I was like, sure. And that's where.
Oh, that's
now we
amazing.
end up here.
I want to get back to the injury the day after you led your life was led to Christ. But before we do that,
Yeah.
what's really interesting, Joby, is like his injuries were like Cam Robinson gets hurt. And so now as a young guy, you're like, wait. And the thing goes like week 2, right?
No doubt. Yeah.
So as a young guy, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the thought has to be, wait, I get 14 games of film. Now here's a chance that I can, like, if you play a good 14 years at left tackle
Yeah.
or 14 games, you're in the league for the next 5 years. It doesn't matter what you do,
100%.
right?
Yep.
Right.
But then, like, what was it, 2 weeks later you get hurt?
I did.
Just the highs and lows of like, hey, I got a chance to finally secure my future in the NFL, to that. Like, what's that? What does that drive home look like?
Yeah, it's brutal. And no one sees that side of it.
Right.
They see a guy get hurt on Sunday, and they're like, oh, man, that sucks. You know, he got hurt. but you got to go home to a wife and kids or whatever situation you're in. But he did. He got hurt against the New England Patriots, tore his ACL, and I'm like, let's go. Go onto the field. We beat the Patriots that week. Then we play the Titans. We play the Jets. Then we go to Kansas City in Kansas City, and I get hurt, I don't know, third quarter. And I was like, man, here we go again. And then same thing. You fast forward to year 9. I'm playing the best football I've ever played in my life. 4 starts in a row. Guy got hurt. 4 starts in a row, and then Christmas night in Arizona, tear my patella at the end of year 9. And you have all these things in your head. If I can just play well, stay healthy, you're on a roll, you're like, come on, just make it. You can get the contract, you can get the thing, and it doesn't happen.
Yep.
You get hurt, and it's like back to fighting again. But I look back, and the Bible says, count it all joy when you face trials of many kinds. And I can look back, and it didn't always feel good. Didn't always feel like it was for a purpose and for a reason, but I look back, and now that I go through hard things outside of football, I'm strong when it comes to those things.
Yeah, that's that's a lot to overcome because of that undrafted free. Again, if he was a first-round pick, we'd have a different conversation.
No doubt.
He's locked in.
Yeah, but he made it a lot longer than many first-round picks.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, how many years did you get in?
10. Yeah.
Wow.
10 years.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That is crazy.
Yep.
That undrafted free agent gets hurt, it makes 10 years. That's man, well done. That's crazy. Can we go back to, can you talk about what you were just talking about a second ago? So you get saved, and then the next day you get hurt? Is that what you said?
Next day. So all that to back up a little bit more, middle of my rookie year, I've got everything I want. Money, I've got a new truck, I'm engaged to my soon-to-be wife. And Joby preached a sermon, man, and he's like, you ever climb the ladder? It's up against the wrong wall. And I was like, I think that's me.
Yeah.
You know? So it started working on me then, but had a guy, Stefan Wisniewski, played a long time in the NFL. He gave his testimony in a chapel before a preseason game. Most people probably don't even remember it. I do. It's the first time I'm like, that's it. I'm raised my hand. If anybody wants to surrender their life, I'm like, that's me. I'm in. Next day, kickoff return. This is when we can do the wedge. Big guys are on kickoff return. We come back, join hands. They put like a defensive lineman, whoever, some guy trying to make the team, running full speed down the field. And just went to block him, hit him. My thumb was down on my forearm. I was like, this isn't good. So I go on IR, did surgery on it, go on IR. And I was like, it's kind of wild. Surrender my life. And now this is the first thing where I'm at. This isn't what I signed up for. This doesn't feel right. I actually talked to Joby last week about it. I went home from there, and all these values and morals I grew up with, and then I'd surrender my life, and I got hurt, called my dad, talked to him about it, and I'm like, you know what? This is what I thought at first. I was like, I'm going to get good at Christianity. I'm gonna just dive in, and I would lay upstairs and watch sermon after sermon after sermon, and trying to get good at it, really, just trying to learn. I was like, oh, this is, and then obviously through sanctification, I realized what I was doing now. But man, I just dove into that. I also had some good coaches that kept me involved, showed me how to watch film. I've had jobs all season where I'd watch film, try to find one thing to help the other guys. So a lot of good came out of it. But yeah, first thing I do is get hurt right after surrendering my life.
That story interests me, Joby, because I've told Joby this. I was sitting in Saturated here a couple years ago, and we didn't even got to the sermon. It was a song. It ended up being a tattoo, like He Won't Fail.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even got to the song, and it just and I'm in a decent place, but it just hit me like, wait, I'm in the right area, but I'm going down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And I told my wife when we left that night, I'm like, I'm changing everything because I want to, because I feel like I have a heart for it now. But I also feel like there's something bad around the corner. Like I left here that night going, there's good, but you're gonna have to get through some stuff. And then we found out my wife had cancer like a month later. In fact, like a week later, she felt the lump. So it's like, that's why that interests me so much.
Yeah.
What I'm sure you hear that type of stuff all the time, right? Like that's just the devil coming after a heart at that point, right? Or is that just God conditioning? Is it a combination conditioning you for what's ahead? How do you look at that?
Well, I mean, God's in charge of all things, so there is nothing wasted. That guy's testimony wasn't wasted. Your wife's cancer that she's been healed from isn't wasted, and that He's at work in all things for the good of those that love Him and are called according to His purpose. And so the thing is, when we look back over our lives in the rear view, man, we've all got 20/20 vision, and we can see how God has been at work in all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
What's really tough is looking forward and trusting that He's still got the whole world in His hands when things don't go exactly the way we think they should go.
So what was your, when you got into that phase of like, I want to become just a really good Christian, I want to get it. Like, what was your, do you feel like that was kind of your, not, I don't want to say coping mechanism, but is that what, when you got really close to God, is in that point of your life? And I know it hadn't been all straight uphill from there, but do you feel like you needed that to then spend time in the Word?
100%. Looking back now, like you said, in hindsight, 100%. And I tell my buddies now that everybody, we're all good at something. Like when you have a gift, you can be good at something. So I was just like, let me just dive in, let me be good. But I look back and I tell some of the kids I work with now, like reps removed out. And not that it'll ever be fully removed, but I felt like the more time I spent just trying to learn, trying to grow. And then when something did come up the next time, I mean, it's in there. Like it's in my brain. It might be further back. Sometimes I have to pull it out. But the more that I take reps in throwing, reps in blocking, reps in sharing my testimony, the more I'm like more apt to do it. And it's going to be readily available when I need it. So yeah, I look back now at that time and I would lay on my couch upstairs and I'd go from film to a sermon. And it just takes time. I look back now and I'm so much further along than that. But as far as getting off on the right foot, I would say in my salvation, that was something that I remember and kind of lean on now.
Then also providentially, Gretchen comes home from the gym one day and said, hey, I met a Jaguar player's wife in one of the classes I was in, and I need you to hang out with her husband. And I was like, I ain't got time for that stuff, you know? I don't know what I was thinking who it would be, but it wasn't Josh Wells. Yeah. And so anyway, we connected. I was like, oh, I like this guy. And so, so we started hanging out a ton.
Yeah.
Because I think way more is caught than taught, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so as much as you can find, and you're closer to my kids' age than mine. And the more you can just kind of be around somebody that's been walking with Jesus for a while, especially when it comes to things like making big decisions or finances or marriage or, you know, when you're going to have kids, all that sort of stuff. And so it's really, really cool to watch how much Josh and Morgan have grown in the Lord over the last like 8 or 9 years since we've been hanging out with them.
Football players have a tendency, because they have to do it this way, to be all in, all or nothing. Like, I mean, you're operating at a level that requires that, right?
Right.
And so I just think it's interesting that you went from, you know, hey, I'm injured, to like all in. Like I'm going to learn what this thing is about.
Yeah.
And I think that personality is like, it's my favorite part of the job that I have of training guys, is like seeing that, because it's what drives somebody to be an NFL football player, but it also can drive pretty far down as well, the intensity of that. And it's like cool when you see somebody that takes that intensity, Joby, of what can go wrong, and they plug that into learning about what can go right. That just changes everything. And that, I'm speaking of myself on this.
Yeah,
I really am. I for years it was the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and forever I thought, well, that's just who I am. But no, the lowest of lows is because I'm stubborn, and because I'm not listening, and because I'm not reading, I'm not listening to Joby or the other actual wisdom around me. And then I'm just blaming my success on my failures as well. And so I've found, as I'm around athletes, like that's a common theme, man, because they have to go so hard just to keep a job.
100%.
That release has to be something equally as damaging, almost like adrenaline filled. Do you feel like in some ways you're through the injuries, your career was extended because you had to learn how to manage time off?
100%. Yeah, I think back to Joby's point, I'm a product of his discipleship, like living out what he talks about. So a lot of things that I say, you could probably watch all the sermons and they'll kind of loop back around. But yeah, I think just all the things I've learned through going through hard times, I've also had people to talk to them about. A lot of guys get successful, they make it to the NFL, and then they're like, man, I got here by myself, or no one got there by themselves. Mm-hmm. And then Joby always says, find people that care more about you than what you think about them. And I have that. Mm-hmm. And so when I would get hurt, man, year 6, got released from the Jags for the first time. I'm depressed. Looking back, I have depression. I mean, I'm depressed in a spot. I'm driving to the airport and I text him and I'm just like, man, I just was down, man. I was just like, this is ridiculous. I think I'm going to be done after this year and all this thing. And he's like, just take a deep breath, stop. God's got a plan for you. And when you're done, we'll sit down and figure that out then. But right now, be faithful to where you are. So when I went through hard times, I didn't get through them by myself. I got through them with the Lord, sure, but then I got through them with people who love the Lord. And then I'm like, man, what do? I don't know what to do. I feel like this. What should I go with this? And so I have him. I've got other people I talk to about my marriage with, to them, honest. And then I have friends my age that will look at me and be like, hey, stop complaining, man. So not just going through it by yourself. And I think that extends your career.
I can remember that, man. I remember he came into my house after practice one day. Our house is like, it's like the old school 1950s kind of hangout that you would think. There literally will be from babies to 70, 80-year-olds at my house just all hanging out. That's what we do. And so the Wells come over. This dude he looked weak. I mean, he weighed 300, you probably weighed like 315 then.
Yeah.
He normally played at like 330 or something. But he just didn't look, he looked miserable. And he's kind of sitting in the shallow end of the pool with his head down. And we started talking. It was crazy. And I was like, listen, man, you only get one shot at being in the NFL. You need to ride this puppy as long as you can, do everything you can. And he had been interning. This is crazy. Think about this. For an NFL athlete, a veteran of 5 or 6 years in the league, in his offseason in the NFL, he would intern at 1122 and go to the prison ministry. He would go to the prison campuses and help run prison campuses.
Wow.
Because those jokers, and listen, man, you want to meet an NFL fan? Go to the prisons.
Mm-hmm.
They know every draft class. By the second time he was there, they were like, you went to JMU and you moved from like quarterback to tight end to defensive line to offensive line. This is your X amount of year. I mean, they know everything, bro, because they can study all the things. Anyway, so he would go do that. And I was like, so just make a run, go as long as you can. Every year it's going to help your family exponentially. And then when you get done, I'll hire you and you can do prison ministry at 1122. Something happened. Like there was like this God-ordained safety net. And then he was just like, screw it, I'm going for it. Gets immediately picked up from Tampa. 2 years later, wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that in a second. I think it's so interesting when you talk about that. It's stuck with me through these podcasts. I think Brock Purdy was the first one that you kind of brought this up on. And I actually think that there's something that changes in athletes when they hear you say that. Whenever they say, look, you can be a Christian and you can represent the Lord in everything you do, but the best thing you can do is go build your platform, go build out. You were made to do this. And when you said that to Brock, like it created a great deal of comfort for me as well. And I think anybody listening that has a regular job that's not a preacher, right? It's like you at times feel like, wait, I'm a Christian. I'm called to do this.
Yeah.
But maybe you are, but not the way Joby is.
Right.
So I think when you say that, man, that's powerful, Joby.
The better you are at your job under the glory of God, the louder your voice for the Lord is going to be and the more opportunity that you'll have.
And that's why you say it and I don't.
Dude, if you
said it way better.
Well, if you were a crappy quarterback coach, we wouldn't be doing this. Nobody'd be listening to you or built.
I may still be a crappy quarterback.
Well, you got some good quarterbacks. So, which, by the way, Josh was a quarterback in high school.
Yeah.
I did. I had a little run. I had fun.
You went from quarterback to tackle?
I went from quarterback and then had a blast. High
school
kind
of a Tebow quarterback.
Yeah,
school,
for
right?
sure. First play of the game had to be quarterback power, so I'd calm down. That was when I realized, this might not be my thing. You know. And then
is a sign,
right? I need to get hit before I calm down. And then I went to tight end. I walked on to college, no scholarship, so I went as a tight end. It was really, they told me if you can get on the field and play, we'll pay. And I was like, all right, where do I need to be? Tight end to D-line, finally worked my way up, got a scholarship. Then one spring, they're like, you're going to play O-line. And I'm in the dining hall eating spaghetti before practice. And then my guy who recruited me to be a walk-on calls me over and tells me, man, I started crying. I'm like, I felt like my life was over. I'm like, what?
Eating more spaghetti.
Now I'm a freak. Now I'm an O-lineman, all this stuff. He's like, man, just calm down. Like, you'll be fine. You just go do it. And at first you're like, man, I'm going to kind of act bad at this for a second because I'm not good, you know? Yep. And then it just flipped around. I couldn't bring myself to do that enough. And then, man, 10 years later.
What percentage of O-linemen in the NFL ever thought they would be O-linemen, though? Like,
I know exactly. You're exactly right.
They're so athletic, right?
Yes. Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson was best right tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Penny, but like, Yeah, he's not. Look at Vita. Vita Vea plays D-line for the Bucks. He's a running back in high school.
Yeah.
You're like, what in the world? So,
tackling that.
to your point, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of these guys, it was the old like Bobby Bowden model back in the day, is he would recruit linebackers and turn them into defensive linemen and safeties and turn them into linebackers.
And even basketball players and, people with good feet and good hands.
Yeah, don't sleep on a guy that's 6'7", 330 in the league, because he'll bust out a 4.9 40 on you.
Oh,
quick.
yeah.
No doubt.
Those are the best athletes that on the planet.
Dude, I think about, only because I graduated from VCU, Virginia Commonwealth, Mo Alley Cox played center for VCU.
Yeah.
They don't even have a football team.
Nope.
So I think he might have played 1 year in high school.
Yep.
And he has a touchdown machine for the Colts.
Yeah.
He just played basketball.
That's what he does. He just blocks out, and Anthony Richards just kind of throws little jump balls, and he can do it, man.
Well, so when you moved to offensive line, how long until you thought, well, wait, this may be a thing for me?
Yeah, I mean, right away. I mean, I started, and I was an unathletic quarterback. I was an average tight end, average D lineman. Then I got to O-line. I was like, I'm one of the more athletic. I'm running through I'm a super athlete at O-line. So I was like, just finding out where you're athletic at. And I was like, finally, this is my spot. Yeah, man. And then it wasn't until like end of my junior season, teams kind of like the junior day stuff, teams start to come around. I'm like, you might have a real shot. I was like, oh, let's do it. Now I'm into this. Let's go. Because that was not on my radar. And now here we are 3 years into college and got a chance. Let's go.
So you play in Jacksonville. You get you get signed by Jacksonville.
Yeah.
When was that? 18? No, 2000. So
that was 14.
14. So you were you part of the 17 team?
I was.
Yeah. So for those listening, probably don't remember, 2017, the Jags went to the AFC Championship. Miles Jack was not down.
Not down.
Absolutely not down.
Tom will admit
not
that
even
now
close.
Too. Yeah.
Yep.
Will he?
Yeah, I think so. He'll say he wasn't down.
Yeah.
That changes we're up 14 with
Oh, yeah. We won that game.
10 minutes
Well, here's
ago.
a funny story about that real quick. I was doing radio at the time.
Oh, okay.
I was on 1010 here, and the deal was like, okay, if they win, everybody's going to Super Bowl.
Yep.
Me and my partner are like, they ain't winning. Like, we're not calling sponsors. Like, we're not even halftime, bro. I'm on the phone with sponsors. Like, hey, this trip's going to cost this.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an exciting time around here. So you go from that, a winning team, and even you talked about 2018 when Cam got hurt.
Yeah.
That year, you guys started out on fire.
Fire, rolling.
Yeah, beating the Patriots in what was a 120-degree game here,
That
right?
was the one, yeah.
And then from there, you go to Tampa. There's a couple injuries in between, but you go to Tampa, and in walks Tom Brady.
That's it.
Talk about when you found out you were going to be playing with Tom Brady, because there's Michael Jordan, there's Tiger, there's Tom Brady, and there's a handful of other guys, but there ain't many.
Tom Brady.
Like, when you found out you're playing with him, what did you think, and then what did it end up being compared to what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, so when you hear it, you're like, oh, man, it's a cool opportunity. You're immediately like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And I walk in, first day OTAs, and I was in early. A handful of us were in early in our locker, and he walks in the locker room, and I was just facing my locker, had no idea. And he walked, there was like 10 of us, 12 of us, and he walked around and tapped each guy that was sitting there and was like, hey, I'm Tom. Nice to meet you.
I'm Tom.
I was like, I know who you are. I mean, I'm a little bit older, but I watched you my whole life too. You know,
hit him with, wait, what'd you say?
So it's like, hey, I'm Tom. Nice to meet you. So that was a big shift. And then we go into the meeting, man. And if in the meeting, most people are just kind of slunched back like this, just hanging out. And then he walks in, and everybody's like, sits up a little straighter, like fix their notepad, gets their pen out, and get ready to write. So I tell people now about leadership with him. When he walks into the room, something happens. When he walks into the room, the bar goes up. Mm-hmm. It just does. But because he's in the room, I feel like I can reach it. Mm-hmm. So my level goes up. He brings the level up, and then my level goes up because he's there. And now it's like, when I walk into the room, what happens? Do I raise the bar? Do I lower the bar? And do people are like, oh, I'm glad he's in the room, or like, man, this guy's in the room, So that changed everything, the way I saw how my career was going, what happens when I walk in the room, obviously on different degrees. But, man, he was everything. He was awesome.
Didn't he have a bit of a come to Jesus? I know some of the stories just from, Didn't he have a bit of a come to Jesus with the players because they weren't?
So he very rarely gave team speech. It wasn't like a big rah-rah guy, right. Before the Super Bowl, he gave one about honor and honoring the name on the back of your jersey. That one gets you jacked up. But the other two were at the end of practice. And at the end of practice, coaches spoke. We had a terrible practice. Coaches spoke. They got off. And then he had a meeting. And he was like, look, everybody here is a professional. You need to know what you need to get better at. You all should identify what you need to get better at. And you need to put the work in to get better at it. And very calmly, he's like, and if you can't get better out of it, that's fine. You got to go home. You got to be off the team. No problem. And you're like, it's kind of like when your dad like gets real calm, like he gets mad, but then he's like, hey, listen here. And you're like, oh gosh.
Is he talking about
you
me?
know? Yeah. So Tom just was like, look, man, find out what you need to get better at. And if you can't, we just can't use you.
I think about that all the time because you watch the Tom Brady videos. I've never met Tom Brady, but you watch the videos and you can tell he is the alpha dog everywhere he goes in a league that has got 53 alpha dogs sitting in every locker room and 17 sitting in coaches' offices. Like that is a high level of alpha right there.
Yeah.
And to be able to live up to that, I mean, I wasn't there, you were there, but it seems like he literally changed the entire Buccaneers franchise by going there.
There's still ripple effects of that there right now. There's a belief that like when he was on the team, like you believed you could win. Mm-hmm. You believe like you're down, we've got it, we're coming back. And I think it still resonates with the guys that were there. And then you bring in a guy like Baker who's going to come and be a dog too. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's just, it changed the trajectory of the organization, I think, and the little time that he was there, 3 years. But he was awesome.
You guys also played a cool Super Bowl because it was COVID, obviously.
Yeah.
But wasn't that the first time ever a home team played in their own stadium for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it was the first time. And everything was, and like you said, it was COVID. Everything was normal. We didn't go and travel, do media and News City. We just stayed at home, got COVID tested twice a day. But like
Twice a day?
Twice a day. Leading up to the Super Bowl, twice a day. You and your family. And if your family was positive, you couldn't play. So it was just a bunch of prayer. Crazy to talk about now, but that's what happened.
Tell them about when Brady got on you a little bit on the field that one time. Remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we're playing. So like you said, I was swing tackle most of this whole year of 2020 leading up to the Super Bowl. So I'm filling in when guys get hurt or jumbo tight end, things like that. Well, we had a guy test positive going to play the Falcons in Atlanta. Guy test positive on like a Thursday. So I haven't really gotten any of the reps. And there's a difference in games toward the end of the season, like week 14, you're like, not really. The game shape is only there if you play in a lot of games.
Yeah.
So we get onto the field, and man, we had a couple long drives, like 10-play drive, 12-play drive. And then we're in a long drive again. And man, he throws a pass. You ever watch? Like he throws a pass and it's going down the field. Like he's just kind of corralling. He's just kind of back, I'm sure, observing and thinking whatever he can work on and fix. And man, I'm kind of like, I'm walking up to the ball. I mean, I'm tired. And he just like looks over at me. He's like, hey, pick it up. And I just, yes, sir.
Yes.
No problem. It's a little trot, big man trot. Just, okay, here we go, you know? But it was as calm as that, man. I'm like, all right, let's go, you know? And he just knew when to speak, when not to speak, what to say, what to do. He would get on himself just as bad as he gets on everybody else. Mm-hmm. So there was never this, like, he's coming down on me. It's like, he has a bad throw in practice. Man, he was saying some stuff to himself. So it was, I don't know, it was equal opportunity everywhere.
That's an interesting, what you're saying is accountability, right? Like he's so good and he's done it so many times and he knows how to do it that if he says it, you just do it.
Right.
And you're going to listen to everything he says,
100%.
right? 100% of the time. That's like a large reason of why I go to church here and a large reason why I'm doing this podcast, to be quite honest, because I've seen what this guy's done.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I want to live the way this guy lives. And so I'm going to follow and listen to what he does, right? I just think there's guys that have that leadership ability. Obviously, Joby has that as well. And I would love to know what that is. I would love to know just beyond even, yes, you got to win, but there was a time that Tom Brady had to win a locker room. There was a time that you had to win a staff and a church and a following here, right? Before you knew you could do it, right? That's the thing that I'm constantly searching. Like, what is that? Where does that confidence come from? What exactly is that drives human performance to that level before it's actually done? Like that's why I do what I do. I want to see that in action. And it's cool when you see it.
Yeah, I think so many of us look for confidence and success and validation. You play well and somebody tells you good job, then your confidence is up. But what happens when the media's bashing you? And then what happens when you lose a game? You're just going to wait to play well again and wait for somebody else to say good job. But I think your attitude has a lot to do with it. Your behaviors have a lot to do with it. I mean, he lives it out. Yeah. And then how you talk to yourself and what you believe and what you're rooted in. Because if your confidence is in the Lord, I can go on forever. But when that's my whole walk, man. My whole life, I'm like, if you're a Christian, you just suit and tie and you sit against the wall and you can't really hit anybody and you definitely can't like confront anybody or tackle anybody. And then you just like, that's my whole life. And I'm like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And then I get here and I'm like, and not just Joby. I mean, there's
Exactly.
some dude, but I'm saying there's some dudes.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Our
you got to
church-
have somebody to look at.
Our church is saved, not soft.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think, man, you just, one of my favorite verses in the whole Bible is John 2:5. They run out of wine at the wedding at Cana. Mary comes to Jesus and says, hey, son, they're out of wine. And he's like, it's not my time yet. And then Mary gets the servants together and just says, do whatever he tells you to do. And if you will do that thing, if you will just do whatever the Lord tells you to do, and I get it, you know, how do you know? Well, the only way you really know, one, it better line up with what the scripture says. You need to like check it with some brothers maybe that are older than you, around you, some of those things. But when you set out in the direction that the Lord has for you, nothing can stop it, man. And he's going to give you everything you need to accomplish everything he's called you to do. So you don't win over the team first and then do the thing. It's as you go do the thing God has called you to do, you trust God's going to give you all the people around you that you need. And you know, and when you do that, man, when you hear the voice of the Good Shepherd and do what he says, you just don't have to live in fear. You just don't have to be afraid. People ask me out, you know, because we're at the end of next year, we'll be at 18 campuses, you know, and people are like, what happens if it doesn't work? Like, then it won't work. That's not my problem. I do what he tells me to do. It's up to him. If it's his will, it's his bill. And my job is just to do what he told me to do. And the Bible says in Matthew 25, in the parable of the talents, if we do what we're supposed to do, we don't hear well done, good and fruitful servant, well done, good and faithful servant. And so my job is not to pastor a big church it's none of that stuff. It was just to teach the Bible to people, equip people to be disciples, pray for your one more, invite them, and let's just do that over and over and over and over.
Well, I'm sure you've had some moments, they're just not publicized the way Josh's are, but I mean, that's got to be a hard thing though, when you feel like you're doing what God wants you to do, but you keep getting hurt.
yeah.
And at some point you got to go, wait, am I not doing? Am I walking a path that I'm walking instead of where he wants me to walk? Like that's the part that in your story that's just like super interesting, because you get saved, then you get hurt right away, and then you continue to get hurt. You continue to plug and plug and plug and plug, and you're doing exactly what God wanted you to do. But in the time, it couldn't have felt like that.
I think the fear for me is looking back and being like, why didn't I take the step? Why didn't I do it? Like if one day when you stand in front of the Lord and it's like, man, if you would have just trusted more, if you would have just taken the chance, like who knows what Joby says, like who knows what's on the other side of your step of obedience? Like the fear should be, man, if I don't give it everything I got, if I don't take that step, what hangs in the balance of the whole thing?
Yeah.
Everything we post about this goes crazy. So people are starving for this, Joby. Every time we post something about you saying what's on the other side of fear, that reel, that TikTok, whatever it is, does a ton of numbers. Like, I feel like men, well, I'm just going to say men because I am a man, but men need that.
Yes.
Like, there's people that, we got an amazing question that I'll get to later. There's people working a job that they feel like, this sucks. This sucks. And I'm hearing these guys talking this podcast about don't be afraid and don't do this, but man, that's much easier said than done. This is a professional athlete. This is a guy who's got a business. This is a guy who's leading a big church. But there's a guy listening to us, like, you know, on a roof somewhere doing real work.
Yeah.
And they're wondering, like, what is God's calling here?
Yeah, one of the things you got to pay attention to is just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not the will of God.
Yep.
And there is a generation today, and the first little bloody nose they run into, they're like, this is hard. Maybe it's not God's will. Are you going to pull the cross out of the New Testament, you idiot? The whole thing is hard. All right, that being said, and then there is responsibility. I mean, you know, when you are responsible for a wife and some kids and you got a roofing job, then brother, you just got to get up and suck it up and go to work. And then in the meantime, then maybe you look for another path, pray like crazy, and God may have called you to be the best roofer you could be. And that part of your day might be hard, but it might be worth it so that you can raise some babies and provide a home for your wife. But the only way, I am more afraid of missed opportunity than I am failure.
Yeah.
Like, no problem striking out. But I just refuse to watch one go by with my bat on the shoulder, you know?
Yeah. But when did that start for you? At what point did you?
There was a time I was in Athens at a terrible church in a great city, right? And I just didn't fit. So you guys know my understanding of the Bible, and the church I was at did not see the Bible the way I saw it. It was a bunch of progressive, really non-Christians, and so it was bad. I almost tapped out and got out of ministry because it was just nothing but conflict. everything I did, I was in trouble. And so I was like, you know what, babe, I was talking to Gretchen. And I'd just gotten offered 2 different jobs. At that time, I thought, it's more money than I'd ever heard of. And, looking back, it wasn't even that much money, but compared to youth pastor salary, it was, it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I was about to tap out. And Gretchen talked me into giving it one more run. There's a story in the Bible of Elijah the prophet. And it's even after some of his big successes, he goes and lays down by this broom tree. And he's like, all right, Lord, I'm done. Take my life. Now, I wasn't suicidal at all, but I think I'm done in ministry.
Right.
And he falls asleep. And the Bible says that God sends him an angel. And he sent me one, and her name's Gretchen.
Mm.
And that angel gave him cake and a nap. So sometimes you got to eat a little cake, take a nap, get a little clarity, and then be about what God has called you to do. That conversation led me to interview at Beach Church here, and that moved us to Jacksonville in 2003. In 2003, and we've been here ever since. So it's so important to have some people that love you that you've invited to speak into your life. Now, if you're a married man, the best person, if you've got a decently healthy marriage, to listen to is your wife. I said this in church the other day, because nobody loves you like she does, nobody knows you like she does, and nobody's less impressed than she is.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife is not like, ooh, how many quarterbacks do you know? And your wife is not like, ooh, can I see your Super Bowl ring? You know what I mean?
Right.
And my wife is definitely not standing in line for me to sign a book for her, but so they love you and they know you and they'll give you honest advice. And so Gretchen talked me into giving it one more run. And if I don't listen to her back then we're not here. There's no 1122.
Yeah, that's I don't know, that's the kind of stuff that interests me, because I've been that same place. I've been the same place where I've been in the wrong place and I have tapped out, but ended up being the right things for me to tap out of.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's times where, with all of this where I'm at now, where I remember when I first started training quarterbacks, I don't remember who it was. Somebody said, how are you going to make money doing this? There's only one on every team. And I was like, well, dadgummit.
Got a good point.
Like that sound,
Right.
that sound. And then, I look now at the way that God's just provide, and it's not even like, I don't even make money from training quarterbacks like that. You know what I mean? Like it's a myriad of different things. It's just so interesting how that works out. And I know hindsight's 20/20, but it feels like that's your story. It feels like your story is just that constant, like, yes, I'm on the right path. I know I'm on the right path. Don't tap out now. And then football ends, and now it seems like you're better than ever. I didn't know you back then, but looking at you now, it seems like, you're thin.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You're happy. Like, talk about that transition from play into this.
Yeah, so I went right from playing. I was like, man, I'm going to lose a bunch of weight. I played at 320, 330 sometimes, a little heavier then, but played at that, and I was like you said, the all-in thing. Back to the initially saved, back to playing and fighting through things. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I went from 330 to 250 in 6 months, 8 months. I had to get my hip replaced. I got a hip replacement just from wear and tear and injuries and things like that. But I look back, man, I'm just like, all right, we'll just get this better. Let's just move on to the next thing. But as far as people say, man, I was very smart financially. And it wasn't just me. It was obviously my wife, and then I had people around me. My rookie year, I get into the NFL. Richard Burt, he's an elder at this church. But we go, he sits me down. He's like, look, this is what we're going to do. You need a truck because you don't have a car. You need a truck, you need a mattress, you need a couch, you need a nice TV. After you buy those 4 things, don't buy anything else. So I was
hardcore.
Can you imagine how many NFL players would be in good shape if they had a Richard Burke in their life that just did those
They wouldn't
things?
listen.
Right.
There's only one out of every 200 that would listen to that. Yeah.
And then he told me, he was like, each year you play, when that season's over, if you never play again, can you continue living the way that you're living? So after year 1, I could have had the truck that I had, stay in the apartment I was in, and I wouldn't have to rush off into the next thing.
Yeah.
Well, 10 years later, I have a nice home. I have a sauna and cold plunge, which is important to me.
Yeah.
I got a car. I can provide for my kids. I can provide for my wife and not have to rush off into anything. And to some people, it's not, man, I have some friends come to my house and kind of joke, and they're like, man, you still live here? Yeah. Yes, I absolutely still live here. Just joking, kind of poking fun, but that's to the point. Everybody has this expectation on you. Everybody puts this standard on you. So yeah, now that I'm retired, I am better than I've ever been because I gave everything I had into football. I have no regrets with football. Maybe some things I'd have tweaked in hindsight, but no regrets how I did that. And now that I'm done, financially, I can provide for my family. I'm physically healthy. And then now I'm doing something that I'm called to do.
Joby, you know this man is frugal. The first two things he said was the sauna and the cold plunge.
I know, man. That's what he's into.
Hell, that's what I'm into, man.
Working
Like
out.
you said, you get, what was it? Once you have kids and a wife, you get one hobby.
Choose wisely.
Man, my hobby is just like saunas, cold plunges, working out, going to the farmer's market. That's just what I like. You know, it's simple and it's kind of how we live our life.
It's been incredible to watch Morgan, his wife, too. When we met them 9-10 years ago, she honestly was more of the mindset of your typical, prototypical NFL wife. Like, we're going to live in this house for a minute, then we need to be here because that's where people live, and then we need, And today, she makes her own sourdough bread. She's about this far from getting chickens.
Close.
All she ever does is, we were having dinner the other night, and she was feeling sorry for some of her NFL wife friends because they have not learned the secret of being content in every situation.
Yeah.
And you guys live in a fine house and have all that, but they are not trying to keep up with anybody. They have just settled into where the Lord has them. And that allows you to do what you're doing now, which is pretty cool. I'd love to hear some more about that.
Yeah. So I started a company called Undrafted Coaching. Obviously, after listening now, it's because I'm undrafted. And honestly, because when I look back, man, if somebody, I'll tell you what we do here in a second, but if somebody would have came to me and been like, Kingdom Kids or Armored Athletes, and if something's called that, no problem. But for me, I was like, man, I want the kids who were just like me in high school. And if somebody came to me in high school and said that, I'd be like, man, get out of my face. Can you help me get better? Can you help me win? So discipleship's at the heart of it. Our mission, walk alongside athletes and parents through life and sports to grow in heart, soul, mind, and strength. And that's obviously straight from the Bible, but straight from what changed the course of my
Say that
career.
again.
To walk alongside athletes and parents. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, if I work with an athlete on something and a parent, especially if a high school kid, college and some of the NFL guys, no problem. High school kids, but if they go home, man, their parents are modeling something, saying things that we're working on, they're going to take precedent, and they should. They're their parents. So walk alongside athletes and the parents in life and sports. Because if your world's not in order, Gus Bradley is my head coach early on. He's awesome. He's like, man, get your world in order, and then football will tend to fall in order. So get your world in order. So life and sports to grow in heart, soul, mind, and strength. And not 25% of each to be a whole, but 100% of each. And then Joby's like, where are your relationships? Where are you at with the Lord? How's your mind? Where's your strength, your physical strength? Like, are you training that? And they all go hand in hand. So that's what we try to do. We primarily work with the mental side of sports because everybody will say like, man, Denny, how much of football is mental? And they're like 90%. And I got challenged with this in Tampa. And then like, oh, what do you do to work on it? Nothing. Everybody can tell you the physical, the nutrition, the sleep, the training, all this. What do you do to work on the mental? We're just leaving it up to chance. So back to the point of discipleship. It's somebody that I've been where they've been and I've gone where most of them want to go. And now I'm going to do everything I can to have tangible things of routines and habits, but to walk alongside them, not to pull them along, not to push them. I'm just going to walk alongside of them. And whether you make it or whether you don't, you'll have things to hold on for the rest of your life because when you're a father, when you're a husband, these things are still going to be important.
You are making it. That's the thing parents need to hear. Making it doesn't mean you made it to the league.
Right.
That's not like, it's a, we hear the percentages all the time about this percent of high school guys goes on to play college and NFL. Not here. That's not true because I can tell you it's not 1%. We're batting somewhere around 50%, right? Like here, there's a NFL guys in Publix every time you go in there.
Yes. Yeah.
But the reality of it is 95% never play in high school.
Right.
Right. So if you started and played in high school,
honestly, you're an elite athlete.
You're yes, especially around here.
No doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I saw it. My son, 3 years started at free safety.
Yeah.
He could have played. And if you play in high school at a decent school around here, there is if you want to play in college, there is one for you.
Yeah.
Yep. I hate when people say that. It's my pet peeve of, man, I hope you have a backup plan. There's only 1%. Man, what are you talking about?
Right.
Go for it.
Like what? Yeah. What are we talking about? What is my backup plan supposed to be?
Live with that? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like I'm going to learn more through attempting to do the impossible here, the air quote impossible, than I would ever learn being diligent and just playing it safe the whole time.
Right.
And so I love the parent piece. Like that, I will admit that is my weakness is parents. I have a hard time. I don't train a whole lot of young kids anymore, and part of the reason is I just want to look at the dads and just be like, what are you doing?
Right.
It's always the dad. Like, what 100%. Are we doing here, man? Like, you've got this guy who is, and I'm sure you charge for your service, but you're giving up time with your family when you don't need to.
Right.
To pour into these people. That is the lesson. That is making it.
Yeah.
And the fact that as a parent, you're able to provide that you are doing enough for your kid right there.
Right.
You don't need to add additional pressure. So I love that mission statement.
Well, Josh got so busy so fast too, he didn't even have to take me up on the safety net job.
I've seen him work.
Like we talked about it. He got to the place and he was like, the only reason I'm gonna say yeah is because you've asked me, and I'm like, no way, dude, don't. I was just giving you an out back in the day, so that you knew that if football was over, you could come here and have insurance and at least have a paycheck and stuff, and you do a good job with the prison ministry. You can still volunteer and do that once your life settles in. But it's taken off like crazy, man. And it's pretty cool. One of the things he figured out real early, I'm glad you mentioned it. I didn't know it was like in your mission statement. One of the things that he figured out early, right after becoming a Christian, is what it looks like to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Mm-hmm. And anytime I disciple anybody, that's what I do. I just say, so tell me about your life, like your relationships, that's heart, mind, mentally, vocationally, what's going on. I mean, most people don't have an NFL job where the strength part is your vocation. Spiritually, how's your soul doing? And then physically, how are you doing? Because we've all met people where their life is completely out of balance, and they might be a phenomenal Christian, but they're going to die of a heart attack when they're 38 years old because they eat every meal from McDonald's, you know what I mean? And it's not good, and they're not loving the Lord of their God with all their strength. And then, especially in the NFL, I'm sure you meet a bunch of people, and all they do is focus on the physical, and their relationships are crap. They don't know the Lord mentally. All they know is football. That is not good. Yeah. And so what you're trying to do, I mean, discipleship is developing the whole person to give God all of you.
Yeah.
I've seen him work. You can see just the demeanor, like, all right, this guy knows like he's got a plan. It's not, I mean, in that world of training, there's a lot of guys that are just wanting to go out there and say, I train this person and stick their chest out. And you can tell right away that's not why you're doing this.
Right.
It's pretty cool too. Some Jags like royalty reached out to him to say, hey, will you train somebody that I know well, you know what I mean? And he did. The young man got signed and like all the things. It's great.
Yeah. In fact, that's who I saw him working with.
Yeah.
But that's what's really, see, that young man is going to learn how to be a better husband and a dad. That's what you're training, man.
No question.
Because even if he has think about it. Your career was incredible. 10 years?
Yeah.
And you're still a very young man and you're retired?
Right.
Yeah, when pastors retire, they're like 106 years old. Like, you don't get to retire when you're 31 or whatever.
Well, think about him being in this job in the offensive line world from a specialty standpoint, right? And you never got hurt.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that you went through, and I keep going back to that because that it just impressed me. It's like, or made an impression on me. The fact that you've gone through that, like now when you have an offensive lineman who's playing 8 years in the NFL, like you can legitimately say like, yo, bro, I've been through this.
Yeah.
Like, this sucks.
Right.
And I've been through it. Because if you haven't been through it,
yes,
I haven't been through it, but I've seen enough guys that have had to go through it because of what we do. I don't think if you haven't gone through it, you can teach that.
No. But I think, and honestly, I think they're gonna have to go through it themselves too.
Sure.
But I think, like you said, when you get to the point of having to go through something hard, who can you talk to about it? Like if you don't have someone who's pouring into your life, speaking into your life when you go through the situation and you think you're just going to do it by yourself and figure it out along the way. It's like, man, I'm going to call people who've been through hard things. I'm not going to call the guy who everything's been up and to the right their whole life. I'm like, I'm not talking to that guy.
Well, is it easy to, I mean, I'm asking this, is it easy for the starting left tackle, the starting right tackle, they blow an ACL, like, okay, I'm going to go PT, I'm going to rehab because I got 35 million reasons to do it, right? But you eventually became the swing guy, but early on, you weren't.
I was swing guy right away.
Oh, were you? Okay. Yeah. That's a little harder, right? Because like, why am I going through all this? Like, I may go through all this, I may get cleared, and they may cut me 3 days later. Yeah. Like, that's a whole different physical therapy than the starting left tackle.
For sure. There's been some starters that you've seen kind of they can milk things, and it's not my personality to do that, but definitely there's this pressure like you better get on the field. Like, if you better be able to play, like, what have you done for me lately? Like, you got to get something done. And you talk about a crazy job where you play well for a couple weeks in a row, everybody loves you.
Yeah.
Oh, man, good job, man. How's the family? How are the kids? You have one bad game and you go in and it's like, won't look you in the eye. A couple people will. But like most people are like, man, this guy, you know, you lose the game. They start viewing you different. And that's what's crazy, man. It's just the ups and downs of that. But when you get hurt, never in my mind was it like, I'm just not going to rehab as hard as I can. But this pressure to get back is real. And that's where you have to have, like you said, be honest with yourself. And looking back, man, I would just rush back from injuries, no problem. And maybe it helped me continue to play, cool. But I would tell anybody that's hurt now, push yourself. You know the difference between being like, you know, being in pain or something, just being sore, things like that. But being honest with yourself, but just continue to push and, I don't know, find your way back, man.
That's why I love that sport, though, man. Talk about gladiators, bro.
It's the best.
I mean, tearing ligaments off. I mean, you're tearing muscles off the bone. And it's like 3 weeks later, coach is like, you ready?
Yeah.
Like, you ready? Or you're going to lose a job.
We had GMs come around, man. They'd be like, man, how y'all doing? And we'd be like, we're great. It'd be like, you know, we're great. It's like, like one of our GMs was like, man, you just always say you're great. Like, because you really don't care. Well, you want me to tell you the truth?
Right. You're going to use
I'm
that
good.
against me in
I'm good.
negotiation?
Yep, no doubt. I'm good. Let's go. You know, it's a mindset too. So.
The offensive line group, like week 10.
Oh.
How bad is it in that room? Like, just nobody's healthy.
We
right?
keep the morale going, man, but it's like full. I mean, you get like, if you ever see the tape job on like an MCL sprain, it's like from ankle to mid quad and just the whole roll of tape going up and down. But like you said, if it was easy, there would be no podcast to talk about stuff like this. And it's like everyone sees the success. Everyone sees 1122 and campuses and people and all that. And Joby doesn't take credit for it, but no one sees like the dark night of the soul of just like, what am I doing? Is this thing going to work? I mean, there's those all the time. And in the NFL, you get hurt, and there's times where you go home and it's just like, what am I doing? I mean, are they gonna bring me back? Am I gonna, you know, are they gonna cut me tomorrow when I walk in the door? And there's plenty of times you walk in early in my career and like I've been hurt and I'm like, where's the guy? Because you know what guy comes and like taps people and is like, come with me. You're like, oh. Walk by him. I'll even like give him like a hey, what's up? So like you see me, you know, you see if now's the time, come and get me, you know. So no one sees all that stuff, you know. They see the success and what's going on now, but yeah, walking through those hard times and having people to do it with.
Everybody's got those, just like I'm assuming, because I do. I'm hoping everybody does. Just those moments where you get out of it and you're like, man, I cannot believe how low I got.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's. You know, for me, there was a time where I was literally, like, wife had just told me she was leaving, and then we just found out the only thing that saved our marriage is she actually, the first time she got cancer, we just found out she had cancer, and I just remember like being face down on a hardwood floor, just talking to God for the first time ever like that, and I can tell you, man, that like that moment is the moment that I'll look back on now, and it's like, thank God. Like, thank God, man. Yeah. Thank you for putting me at that place, because I didn't know surrender till then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No idea what surrender was. Surrender was like, yeah, you know what? I'll raise my hand in church and I'll go to 2 services this week. Like, I'll go to Saturated and Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that was surrender. So it's like when I found out what surrender is, that's when everything changed, like completely.
Yeah, there's this really famous verse that the Baptist bookstore screwed up. It's in Psalm 42, as the deer pants for streams of running water, so my soul pants for you. That is not a calm verse about an 8-pointer standing next to a brook. That is a deer that is running for its ever-loving life, and it feels like it's going to die. Mm-hmm. And it's crying out, if I could just get a sip of water to keep me alive for one more minute, that's what I need. And I would abandon everything else for that.
Yeah.
And David in that moment is like, that's how my heart feels towards you, God, right now. I just need you to get me through this. And if you don't know that, then what you don't want to happen is for a desperate situation to drive you to desperation. I want to live my life that I just wake up in the morning and I am desperate for him because I never forget what he saved me from, so that I don't have to be drugged through the muck and the mire to be reminded again. And one of the best ways to do that is help other people find their relationship with the Lord, you know? Because he's trustworthy, man. He can be trusted.
Yeah.
Well, it also has taught me not to judge anybody because I grew up with a Southern Baptist preacher as a grandfather, 65 years, just an amazing man. And my father-in-law, who recently passed, was the same thing. Like, I was all around religion.
Yeah.
But it took me God having to take me to that moment to actually realize what this thing is. Right. So it's like you would think I would know.
Right.
I've been around it. I mean, I was Louisiana, Southern Baptist, right? Like all over. And that's what I just know you can tell in your story. Like you had those moments, man, and you overcame them. And that's I love that crap.
I even had them like late. That's the thing. Like I still get them. I still have them. I mean, Christmas night in year 9, I'm playing in Arizona. My wife and kids are in Virginia with my in-laws, with her parents, their family doing Christmas. We played Christmas night. I tear my patella tendon second quarter.
It was bad. You could see it on TV.
It's just like a crater in my knee. Okay, I'm laying there, go to the locker room. They pretty much tell me, this is what we think it is. I get getting a little air cast thing on my leg. We got a 5-hour flight back home. Play before I did my patella, I did a grade 2 MCL on my right knee. Tom's like, are you okay? And I was like, we'll see on this play. And then that play was my knee. So I get 2 hours on the runway because, of course, and then 4-hour flight back, and we land. And we drove our car, parked it by the airplane. And then the athletic trainer comes up to me and is like, hey, we're going to there was a very nice intern athletic trainer. Her name was Lily. She worked with the O-line. She's great. Well, the athletic trainer's like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Lily is going to drive you home and get you situated in the house, make sure you can get to your bed. And I was like, no, she's not.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it home by myself. And that's because I've had people around me. That's never going to happen. Spoke that into.
We've seen that story before.
Right. So I was like, no, she's not. And the athletic trainer was like, well, somebody's going to get you home. I was like, okay, cool. Well, we land and I find I got some buddies like help me get to my car. I get to my car. I lay the seat all the way flat, slide in it was my left leg, slide in, and then slide down my seat like a slide, lift my seat up and drive myself home.
You drove home?
Drove myself home. So I get home and I park. And at that point, I was even hurting even more. And I was like, how am I going to get out of here? So I just kind of reversed it, slide it back, slide out. And I literally almost crawled to my front door, crawl up on the couch. And I'm laying there, and it's year 9. It's week 14. My family's in Virginia, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
This was like a cold night in Florida. We left the sliding, we're kind of different, but we left the sliding door open while I was like traveling, whatever. But it got cold while we were gone. So we get back, and I'm just laying on the couch, and I'm freezing. Fall asleep for a little bit, wake up. My wife's trying to find a way back to Tampa. In the morning, I'm freezing cold. So I crawl up the steps. I'm in year 9 in the NFL, and I'm 33 years old, and I just starting on Christmas night on Sunday Night Football. And I crawl up the stairs and could reach the thermostat like laying down, like thankful for long arms. Like get the thermostat up and things like that. And I lay there after I get the thermostat up and just pray and kind of have a conversation. Like, what are we doing? Like, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. I'm mad about this potential of making a new contract. I'm mad because it's Christmas night. My wife and kids aren't even with me, and no one sees that. So this is 8 years into my walk with the Lord, and I'm still just like, what are you freaking doing?
Yeah.
And so I think it's just it doesn't just happen one time and then you're saved and then it stops. But that was a story for me, fairly recent. It's been a couple years now, but
so with what you're doing now, how are you? I mean, obviously, there's a large percentage of people that won't have your exact story, right? But what do you feel you're doing to prepare guys for that type of moment, either through athletics or just through life? Like,
I think building building a relationship first.
Yeah.
Knowing that I care more about them than their success on the field.
Yeah.
Like you said, my son plays 5- and 6-year-old T-ball right now, and and trust me, it crawls up my back sometimes where I'm like, come on, make the throw, make the hit, whatever. But I like rein it in. There's a lot of people that can't. I think there's a lot of kids with parents or a lot of kids with coaches that don't, and they think their identity is all in sports and how they perform. So initially, one of the first questions I ask them is, why do you play the sport you play?
Mm-hmm.
If you asked 100% of all NFL, if you asked every NFL player, 10% might be able to give you an answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if it's money, say it's money. Say it out loud. I play football for money.
Yeah.
Because then at least you understand. But they can't give this deeper reason why. So help the kid identify why. help them come up with a mission for their life. What's your mission for your life? Like, where's your identity at?
And when you
purpose?
say kid, what age are you?
So primarily, I have a bunch of high schoolers now.
Yeah.
And it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I have one NFL guy and a few college kids, but right now, primarily sticking through high school. And I'm open to I meet with the parents and the kids before I bring them on. Because sometimes, man, if I meet with them and it's more their parents who are driving them, I'm like, this maybe just not the time. You know, I want it to be the kid who wants to do it. And then I'll communicate with the parent as well. But this is even something where parents will hear it and be like, well, I want my kid to talk to him because then he can. That's not it. That's not it. And
it might be a good idea to not to self-promote, but there's probably about a 10-minute segment where Kirk Herbstreit, which was our first guest, talks about parents of athletes.
Unreal.
Dude, you should clip that thing and just say, every parent, I need you to listen to this. And he's got very athletic kids that are playing at a high level, and the way he talks about it is just brilliant and from experience. And he was obviously a great athlete too.
And he walks the walk. Like, I mean, I work with his son, and we work with his son, and I can tell you, not one time has Kirk ever come out there and it's like, wait, what are you doing? He played quarterback. Yeah. He played, I mean.
At Ohio State. He was the captain.
Yeah,
that's not like.
He's like the king of college football. I mean, anybody can walk out there.
Right.
It's him. But there's a level of trust. And I asked that question, Joby, because I think sometimes people can hear that if you're a parent to a kid and you take that the wrong way of, oh, he's only wanting to work with superstars or he's wanting to work. No. This is a guy that's putting so much into it that he don't want to work with turds. And I mean that affectionately.
There's a bunch of turds.
And it don't have to be the kid. It may not be the turd. Right? Like it may not be. But it's that same thing we were talking about with Travis Hunter before we went on air. It's that you sometimes, the culture that you put these kids in. Yeah. And what we were talking about with Travis Hunter is the culture change that the Jags are going to have in a positive way just from happiness. Yeah. And if I'm working with somebody I'm not happy to work with, the culture of everybody is going to be affected. And so by doing that, like you're doing that. You're able to control who you're working with, which is a better experience for everyone. Yeah. Like I commend that all day long. Yeah. I think the pickier the better there.
Yeah, man. Life is short. If every day you wake up and you're miserable,
yes,
bro, who you gonna blame?
Yes.
Now there is a small segment of people out there, and something has happened to you that's not your fault. A physical injury, a illness, abuse situation. Okay, I'm not talking about that. But if you have been in charge of your life and you wake up every day and you're like, this sucks, well, then you suck. Like you might want to do something different, man. You were the captain of your future. You should do something about it.
You may need to be told that.
Pray like crazy, guess, and then just go. And go do what he's told you to do.
Yeah, if you're the downer, like somebody needs to tell you. You may not know.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sat down before and said, look, you're the reason this isn't working. And at the time it stinks, but hey, you either got to do it or not.
I had a coach he was like, look, man, my only rule in here is you be the same guy every day. He's like, these guys who come in and they're like all jolly and happy, and then they come in and they're the jerk in the room. Yeah. He's like, and he just tells them, he's like, look, if you want to come in every day and be a jerk, be a jerk. At least I know what I'm going to get, and you're just not ups and downs and all this stuff. Like, but like you said, to your point, having people in your life that like, stop complaining.
You know, Carson said something last week that I think is incredibly profound. I've gone back and listened to it because I was sitting right here listening to him say it. And I think if you just listen to it about football, you'll kind of miss the point. Because Denny asked a question about something, and Carson says, hey, I'm going to take this a little bit of a different direction. And he said there's a bunch of kids in college, Georgia, Miami. Okay. Yeah. And they were super 5-star everything and All-American, what's it called, and all of that, right? And then they just disappear. And you're like, what happened to that guy? And Carson begins to share his own story, and he's like, here's what I think happens. You show up to a big team that wins natties like Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, whoever, and you watch the older guys win, and you're like, that's just what we do here. And then one day you find yourself on the field. And he said, I was in a game against Auburn, and the first time I realized Stetson is not coming in to win this game. It's up to me. And he said a bunch of guys think the logo is going to win the game. And so they've never actually done it on the field.
Right.
I thought, I've listened to it 3 times. Mm-hmm. All right. It just hit me right here. I think the same thing happens in people's life.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy that's just miserable in his job looks up and he's like, how did this happen to me? Bro, you are the quarterback of your life. Call the play. Do whatever it is you need to do to bring God glory, to serve your family, you know? And don't think that just the change in circumstances is going to change your heart. My Bible says you got to learn the secret of being content in any and all circumstances. But if you think somebody else is going to come and do that for you, then they're not going to. God will completely give you the opportunity to make whatever adjustments you need to in your life to be about his business. Whether you're the quarterback going to Miami, whether you're starting a new business to train up kids, whether you're going to continue to do what you've been doing. I mean, you know, you do like 6 things, though.
Yeah, I know. I know what I do anymore.
Or the same thing with me.
Yeah.
So I was at that church in Athens, was miserable, and Gretchen was like, let's change. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
And that led us to where we are today.
And I'm thankful that, you know, I referenced the time that God literally just put me on my face. I'm thankful for that, because if it wasn't for that, I'd still be doing that. I wasn't built that way to be able to say, I'm the problem. I'm walking down the wrong road. I'm going to just forget everything and I'm going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to be broken down to my core in order to do that. You know, so I think there's a lot of people listening to this, like, pay attention to what Joby's saying there, because you may be the problem. Like, you may be the problem of why your life stinks right now. And like you said, there's other people that have other circumstances. I was the problem. And you got to recognize that at first. And so I love that we're putting that in at a young age.
Well, we get it honest. Like, you know, Adam screws up. I mean, there's a snake talking to his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything at all.
Yeah.
And then they sin. They all sin. They run and hide. God shows up. It's like, why are you hiding? He's like, I was naked and ashamed. He said, who told you were naked?
Mm-hmm.
Right then, he could go, my bad. You put me in charge. I'm so sorry. That's not what he does. He goes, it ain't my fault. It's that woman you gave me. So I don't know if it's your fault or her fault. I mean, just blames from the very beginning, and everything goes to hell. And so when you do that, man, when you don't take ownership of your own life, everything goes to hell. And I'm not just talking about like that thing in eternity where the devil is and where you're not saved, you go. I'm talking about your life right now will be a living hell if you don't take dominion over what God has given you, which starts with your life and then the people that you are responsible for.
It's like it's the journey too. Like I used to think, like, especially like you said earlier in college, like, when did you know like you might have a chance? Man, I thought like once I got to the NFL, then I was good, you know? And then I was like, I used to tell my buddy Tyler Shatley, who we talked about, we got here in OTAs, we're like, man, just a free summer in Jacksonville. Like, you know, we're just hoping to make whatever. But once we get vested, 3 years, 3 games, we're vested, then we're good. Then once I get there, so call the play, be the quarterback of your life, strive for shoot for the moon, man, whatever it is that you want to do and you feel called to do. Cool. And just realize once you get there, though, there's going to be something else you want to reach. So it's the things. It's what you learn in calling the plays and failing and getting back up and calling the play and being successful, not the place you're actually trying to get to here in the world. Like, you win a Super Bowl? Cool. My kids woke me up at 7 a.m. the next day and were like, can you take us to the park? They don't care. They didn't care. And so it's like this idea of like, once I get there, then I'll do it. Start making the decisions now. Then once you get there, you'll keep making the good decisions to keep going. You won't just terminate on itself once you get the thing you thought.
Yeah, there is a myth, man.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to church planners all the time. They're like, oh, if I could only be where you are. I'm like, you sure?
Right.
I don't know if you know what you're asking for, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think there is like made up in our own mind for sure. Like,
the problem is when you get there, you are still there.
Right.
There was not the problem. It's you.
Well, our there is so much less than God's there.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
Right.
Like,
there's a lot of young guys preparing for the NFL, though.
If you'd have given me what I wanted 10 years ago,
oh, Lord,
I would be light years behind where I'm at right now.
Amen.
Like, not even close.
Yeah. There's a ton of young guys in the NFL that are training for the NFL now or just got drafted for the NFL. And Joby said this about kids, like the same ones you prayed for, now you're just complaining about all this stuff. But the same thing happens with the NFL. And you lose sight of like, man, I've trained my whole life to be in the NFL and I've worked so hard for this. Then you get there and you're going to be about 3 weeks into OTAs. Let's try training camp. You're going to be about 2 weeks into training camp and you're going to come in and you're going to hope that the board says like just helmets. And it's going to say full pads. And you're going to complain and you're going to find every way to you're just going to be miserable. And then you're going to be like, but I'm in the NFL. So like I get to, not I have to. And like man, you get to put on a helmet and go hit and put on full pads and play football for a living. Like, and I didn't have that. I'm saying all this. I didn't have that perspective for the first 7 years of my career, and it started getting a little bit better. And there's times where you're gonna be in full pads. You're like, man, what are we doing? But it just, once you get there, just realize like you'll still find things to complain about if that's the type of person that you are.
I still do.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Me too.
Well, dude, I'm proud of you. I could not be more proud of you. Paul tells Timothy to find like older men like me should teach younger men like you that should train up even younger guys like you were doing. And so it's super cool to watch what God's doing in and through you.
Yeah,
proud
man.
of you.
Thank you.
No, for sure, man. Thanks for this too. Like, this has been awesome. Welcome anytime.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love what y'all are doing, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Built for More podcasts. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave good reviews, the whole thing. Tell your friends. We appreciate it. We'll see you shortly.